Hey everyone, I'm Pastor Scott. I want to address something directly. It comes up occasionally during our live stream that someone comments on the appearance of my house, which of course leads them to believe that I'm somehow using the church as a tax write-off or some other nefarious purpose. And to be fair, in a normal for-profit business, there are ways that you can deduct business use of your home. And that is a real thing. And if Navigation Church was running a standard for-profit business, there might be some legal structure that might apply. However, Navigation Church, and all legal churches for that matter, aren't for-profit businesses. Navigation Church is a 501c3. And because of that, I'm a founding and lead pastor. I legally cannot benefit from church funds to offset the use of my house. It would be a conflict of interest. And in fact, here's something most people don't even know. If we held the church at someone else's house, the church could legally pay them for rent using their space. But because it's my house, I can't charge a rental fee of any amount. As head pastor, I can't pay myself that way. My house has to be given freely. And just so you understand clearly, I don't even take a salary. I don't take compensation. I don't even take a single cent from Navigation Church because I'm bivocational. I work another job. My wife works a job. And all the work that I do for Navigation Church is in my free time, on my weekends, on my days off. And for all intents and purposes, I'm a volunteer. We host the church in our home because we're starting small, we're being faithful, and we're trying to build a community. Now, here's what I think is really underneath the comments, that both Christians and non-Christians struggle with the idea of godly blessings. It can be tough for Christians to understand godly material blessings because the same God that blessed David and Solomon with a kingdom is the same God whose prophets had a walking stick and a cloak and nothing else to their name. And non-Christians sometimes assume that if a believer has anything nice, it has to be through dishonesty or manipulation. And it's almost like believers can't win no matter what, because if a Christian has very little, they'll say, see, faith doesn't work. If a Christian has much, they'll say, see, they must be corrupt. And Jesus actually addresses something similar. In the book of Matthew, chapter 10, verses 18 and 19, Jesus says this, "For John came neither eating nor drinking, and they say he has a demon. And the Son of Man came eating and drinking, and they say, here's a glutton, a drunkard, a friend of tax collectors and sinners. But wisdom is proven right by her deeds." In other words, when someone isn't looking for truth, they'll criticize no matter what. The Bible doesn't teach that money is evil. It teaches that the love of money is evil, because blessing is not a proof of corruption, and poverty is not a proof of your holiness. God gives influence to many people because he desires it to be used for him. And God gives resources to people because he intends them to be stewarded for his purpose. And God grows his church in 1,000 different ways, through generosity, hospitality, sacrifice, and open doors. And everything I had was built years before I even thought about opening up a church. The difference was I just began to see what God gave to me and how I could use it to give back to him. So if God gives you a home, open it. If God gives you influence, leverage it for his kingdom. If God gives you resources, steward them faithfully. Because in Matthew 6:21, it says, "For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." And I'm using my treasure to serve the Lord because he is in my heart. He's my savior. And without him, I wouldn't have any of this. And if you have any questions, you can ask me directly. That's fine. I'm always happy to talk. You know where the best place you can find me at is? Navigation Church at Sundays. Hope to see you there. God bless.